And we are back for part two of the Australian Open preview. Torrey is still here with me. We just ran through the women's section of the women's draw in part one. So if you're listening to this out of order, shame on you. Go back and listen to part one. And now we are going to jump into the men's draw. Torrey, let us start with the very top half of the first quarter, and that would be Mr. Jannik Sinner's draw.
Jannik Sinner it's a snow day here in Atlanta, Alvin, and I feel like Jannik is on my brain because many don't know that he was a top skier back in the day.
Yeah.
Gold medalist at some junior championship they had back in the day, if I'm not mistaken. Jannik, to me, the draw did a great job of taking care of the top four seeds, at least for the first couple of rounds. Now, having said that, I think the story in this particular, we're going to go 1 through 16 and kind of speak to that section of this quarter. I think the real story here to me is in this lower section where Berrettini plays Norrie, a couple of top 20ers that didn't get seeded. I think you have to look at Mannarino is everybody's bad day, depending on who you are and where you're coming at. And it looks like he's playing your boy Kachanov. Always a tough matchup there. And then you've got the new Argentine Cerundolo playing Bublik. So you got some tough rounds. I know I'm getting a little bit past the 16, but that is a tough. The middle sections of these draws get to be very, very tough. Going back to center, I think obviously Echeverry has been a pretty good player. Hurkacz is always a good player. There's a lot of players that could, but I'm looking at that Berrettini-Cam Norrie match to be a match that really has my opinion. And them playing against Holger, I would put either one of those players having a real good shot against Holger in that second round matchup, just to speak to it. And then if I had to dip down a little bit lower, Mickelson and Tsitsipas, couldn't ask for a better matchup from Alex. I got a guy who's a 1-y with the big forehand serve. If I can return okay, he's been proven that he can be beaten. Blood in the water, as my expression goes. I love Stefanos. Think he's got a great game. I really look forward to this being a rebound year for him. If he really wants to regain his top 10, top 5 form, it's going to be some tough sledding. He's got a couple of different players to get through. If he can, he might find himself up against a player like De Minaur in his section of that top 32. But you heard it right here. Alex Mickelson, this would be a great draw for him to step out in. And nothing against, going back to Jannik, nothing against Nicholas Jarry. But I'm going to tell you right now,
yeah.
Jannik is playing some good ball. I mean, you made a comment about Iga, that the profile of who he loses to is so small that it only comes down to a couple of players. I don't see that profile being but about 2 players as of right now. One of them's on the complete other side of the draw, right? And the other one is 37, 38 years old. So just to say, and that's not to say that he's an afterthought. There are so many players that could play, that could on their good day and his bad day could go 3 or 4. But I'm going to tell you right now, and in a 5-set match, I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think looking at this particular, like the top half of this quarter, it's almost like a really good snapshot of where where men's tennis is, and then like the difference in between men's and women's tennis that we only see 4 times a year, right? The women's draw is I think it's a lot easier to get a grasp on these matchups because of the format of the tournament, right? The women are playing 2 out of 3 every single week, right? So while there is some variance, it's variance that you understand, right? Yep. So like what can happen in Miami is the same thing that could happen at the U.S. Open. Like the circumstances are that much different, especially in the first 2 rounds when you're not talking about like the compounding effects of having being on site for a week or something like that.
100%.
I think in the 3 out of 5 on the men's side just reduces the amount of variance. Like if you're going to beat somebody, it is because you are better than them, not necessarily because they had a bad day, like a bad day
or a bad set.
a bad set, right? You're gonna
Right.
on a bad day, you can play a bad set and a half, and in a 2 out of 3 set match, a bad set and a half will get you beat. In a 3 out of 5, a bad set and a half means we're going. If the better player is playing that bad tennis, it's going to be 4 sets or 5 sets, but you're probably still not going to win. So the part about this, the top half of this quarter that I really appreciate is that with center is, for one, like, yeah, his baseline is so high that there are really literally like 2 or 3 players in the world that are going to ever really give him trouble. Like, not beat him, give him trouble. Right. Because he just tends to show up all the time. He's ready to go. Like, I remember U.S. Open first round, he lost his opening set to Mackie McDonald, and everyone was like, whoa, this doping thing's got him shook, and whatever. He didn't lose a set the rest of the tournament, right?
Right.
That was the set that he needed to shake off the whatever, and then he just works through it. But the actual thing that's really impressive about men's tennis right now, you mentioned previously that, maybe the top is thinner than it used to be. Like, I think it's 3 players, not 7.
Right.
But from 10 to 70, it's almost like 70 could beat, like, Tsitsipas is ranked 11 in the world, right? Is there that much of a difference between, like, Tsitsipas and, like, Berrettini?
Not only is there not, I would tell you that, and unfortunately Tsitsipas is a bad example because he's lost a few matches to some other players. That was Chris Eubank's big win at Wembley, last year.
Right.
There are so many players, so he may be the example, right? But I'm just telling you, I feel that you mentioned, I'm going to say 17 through 70 just because it has a ring to it.
Sure.
That 17 through 70 is rough. Now, the 71 to 121, so to speak. Now, that's where we start getting all these newer players. And to your point, the new Brazilian kid coming in here, Fonseca. You got some.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to him later. But these are the guys that are in that level that are coming up that we haven't even really given them a shot yet, right? I know, and later on, again, I'm just teasing it, but GMP and playing Monfils. GMP, this is now his first chance to really make some true make it through ranking at some of the slams. So we've got a lot of that. 71 through 121 is still no slouches. Right. So I make that reference to say, don't sleep. This is the men's tour is very deep right now. And the last comment I want to make about the top 3 being thin has nothing to do with them not being of the same caliber. They're just newly minted Grand Slam champs, and they haven't had the depth yet that Sir Roger, obviously the great Nadal, and Novak, the reigning GOAT, have been able to establish and build that portfolio over the last 15 years. So
there's no intermediate group like between the big 3 and the new 2. There's just like 100%. There's no one there.
It was almost a cutoff.
Medvedev got one, and that's where your Dominic team would have fit in. Like, those guys who would have been in their early 30s right now, but
Zverev should have fit in, right?
Right, but they just don't. They didn't get it yet. I guess they had a chance. They didn't do it.
Haven't done it yet. By the way, would this not be a phenomenal tournament? We're going to get to them last. I'm going to mention it now. Sasha Zverev has a chance to do what he should have done against Team years ago before the pandemic, or during the pandemic, I might add.
Right.
And that is to reach another final. I will submit to you now, Alvin Owusu. Sasha Zverev is one of those players that fits that profile that can beat Jannik Sinner.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
You heard it right here.
Is this out of order? Yes. Is this a conversation that we could have next week after the plan is for us to come back when the quarterfinals are set.
Put it out there right now, Alvin. Put it out there right now because as I'm looking at the draws, and I made the statement, they took care of the seeds. He has a very similar draw. I'm going to say more or less routine first, but when you talk about it's in the context of center. Center only has 3, maybe 4 players in this entire draw, and the 4th player is center on a bad day. Let's put that out there. You're really talking about 3 players that could beat him in 5 sets at this event. And I'm telling you, the one player is center just having a bad day, opening up himself to
Sure.
a loss. Otherwise, it's three. And that said, I'll let you move on and keep us on track.
No, I mean the Zverev of it all. Like, I feel like it's really, can Alex get it done in a best of 5 set match, right? So I mean, yeah, Alex beat Yannick, I think maybe 2023 U.S. Open, right before Yannick Sinner became Yannick Sinner. But like, Alex, he's starting to get this reputation as the best male player to have never won a Grand Slam, based on his resume. And I think about that, and I think there's a little bit of recency bias. Like, if you put his career right now right next to like Joe Wilfried Tsonga's career, like, because Joe Willie never won a Grand Slam, like,
right,
is Alexander Zverev, has he had a better career than Joe Willie?
Yep.
I think it's a toss up. I don't think it's as clear cut as a statement as like Alexander's the best player to have never won a Grand Slam.
If he wins, if he gets to this final, I think that answer is done. I would just submit to you that I feel on a matchup, I'm big on matchups. In that matchup, I like Alex. Sasha could win that match. That's all I'm telling you.
If he gets there, he has to probably go through either Djokovic or Carlos. I mean, if he gets there, he's done the work.
Who will have to go through each other.
Right? Yeah.
In the meantime, I know we'll get to it, but I just have to put it out there.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
No, you.
I was just gonna say, I feel like with Alex, I'm not the biggest Alexander Zverev fan, but if you tell me, with the state of men's tennis right now and Djokovic, on the twilight, are Carlos and Yannick going to win all the Grand Slams? Are the next 8, are they going to win all of them? Right. Could Alex get one? Yeah, he could get one. He's making the semifinals of all of them anyways. Like, he just got one thing has to break his way, and he's there. Like, it's the weird thing about these
about these slams. Middle 2000s, everyone's talking Federer, Rafa, this new guy Novak's coming up. Andy Murray wins a pivotal Wimbledon, puts his name in the mix, and out of nowhere, Stan Wawrinka comes in and says, "You forgot about me," and elbows his way. I want to say he beat Novak on the clay and beat his countryman, who had, 10, 12 slams at that point, and just kept pointing to his head like he finally got his mind right. And Stan Wawrinka clawed his way into the big 4, so to speak, like, don't sleep on me. Right. I just feel this could be one of those moments for a player like Alex Zverev, who has, in my opinion, more top-level tournaments, minus, obviously, Stan's 2 or 3 slams. He has that ability, and he's coming up on that phase of his career where probably a little pissed that he hasn't won a slam by now. And, my term, we're in that post-GOAT era. Everyone else is starting to kind of claim some sand. And I think this is his chance to say, buddy, don't sleep. I'm fit. I'm hitting big. You're not going to find many guys that big, move that well, with that big of a serve, with that good of a backhand, with that clean of a forehand that can do it all. He, if you think about it, might just be a bigger, I'm not going to say better, I'm going to say a bigger version of Yannick Sinner. Moves well on the baseline, can hug it, can tag it, can counter strike and serve, and in my opinion, may have a slightly better serve. Now,
yeah, it's really just his propensity to, like, for coming forward. Like, he just doesn't. He's too willing to get into those long rallies. He's too willing to counter punch as opposed to counter defend, and like he'll play smaller than his size. Especially in big moments. That's what ends up getting him, right? He gets into those big moments and he shrinks.
I feel like that same thing can be said about a bunch of players and then they didn't. So, I want to stay on
even
track.
last year, French Open final, when the same thing happened to him against Carlos. Like, when it came, push came to shove in the 5th set, like, Carlos was willing to hit the gas and go for it, and Alex stayed in 3rd, right? So, like, that, it's those little things, but yeah, I mean, the greater thing here is like I think we both feel like center is going to be coming out of the top half of this quarter. Like he's pretty bankable at this point.
100%.
Yeah, there's
and I hate to say it, and I don't see a lot of 4 or 5 set matches in his way, unfortunately. And that's just to say, and that's to say he'll be fresh. I don't want to go down the pathway of the whole doping situation
he's in the tournament. He's in the tournament, so
he's
like,
in the tournament. We'll move on. But just saying, it's take a guy that's obviously fit, that's obviously a world-class athlete, that's obviously Grand Slam champ 2-3 times over, and now he doesn't have much of a true contest. The only thing he has to worry about is maybe peaking too soon and coming and stubbing his toe. And that fourth player, him on a bad day, is what could get in the way if he peaks a bit early in this tournament.
Yeah, and I think Nicholas Jarry is a good first round matchup because Nicholas Jarry's he's a big player. He has beaten top players before.
Yep.
I could see Jarry maybe
big
taking
serve.
a set
Yep.
if he could take the first set. Like I don't think he's gonna win the match, but I think that's like the perfect, like if you're Yannick Sinner, like you get to a tough match or a tough player, a legit player, Nicholas Jarry,
right,
and then you probably end up against a Toro Daniel in the second round. Like you're gonna be able to power him around the court. Like that's a good start to a title defense, I think.
Who's coming out of the second half of that top 32? You got, I mentioned, I thought the match of that quarter is your boy, really Manarino and Kachanov, but you got De Minaur, who of course has to be the favorite, being from Australia. You got Bublik. Yep. You got where does I see? Oh, he's in the second part. Borna Choric out of nowhere. I mean, that's a great one to see him back in the draw. Oh, Cam Norrie Bertine, they're on the top half. Who comes out of that second half? Who comes out of that second half, in your opinion? Vandersloot, has been playing some good ball recently. That could be a tough first round. Nothing that Alex can't handle. But to me, I'm looking at coming out of that. De Minaur with his top seed being Tsitsipas, that to me is a very doable lower half of that top 32 for Alex De Minaur.
Yeah, I think Alex is he's my pick to come out of the bottom half of that quarter. I think he's just kind of steady. Botic in the first round is, Botic, I think he kind of popped on the scene a couple of years ago, but then like last year beat Carlos in the U.S. Open, and then had a really good showing at Davis Cup, taking the Netherlands to the finals. He just, if he's there, he's like a pendulum, right? Like he's a problem. Like he's just very steady. But I think the thing that the way he was able to bother Carlos in New York was because Carlos sometimes his baseline is a little low. Like if he's not having a good day, he can get a little wild, right?
Yep.
And like he doesn't really have that go-to part of his game quite yet, which is crazy because he's won 4 Grand Slams. Like he doesn't have that, like what his B game sometimes looks like a D game.
That's what I'm saying. His B game is luckily underdeveloped right now. His B game,
his A game is
a lot of the young guys. Their B game's very underdeveloped, and I feel like that's what hurts them on the routine days. One quick shout out to the old GOAT era. Their B game was so solid, they could wait around for opportunities until the A game came back around, or beat you by you losing, and then find a way to come hit that big ball. I think that befell Ben Shelton last year. I think that befell, the bigger players, right? That's what hurt them, in my opinion, is that inability to sustain and relied so heavily on that ball. We're talking about Tsitsipas. I think that's what hurt him. If he wasn't slapping big forehands and hitting serves and first strikes, Tsitsipas was very mortal. And I feel like those two players in particular, to your point, I think that hurt Taylor Fritz at some moments. So that level of player, especially with the temperatures being in summertime down there or down under, this could be a time where your fitness may not be as sharp as you'd like, your rally strength may not be as deep as you'd like, you're relying on how well you're hitting the ball right now, but not necessarily your confidence to know that I could go 10, 15 balls, no problem, and 3 out of 5 and not worry about it. A lot of guys can't say that.
And I think I think that's the other side of the coin is probably Alex de Minaur, right? He is all B game. He's all B game.
100%.
His B game is extremely strong. His B game is his A game. So I don't think he's going to have that kind of problem. Like he's going to run
he's from Australia,
and hug the
and
baseline.
He's fit, and he's got crowd favor. You see what I'm saying? He's got so many factors helping him. Ooh, he'll be all right.
Right. I think that's why he, like, while Botic on paper might look to be like one of those tricky first round matchups, I feel like Alex will just like lean on him, and like Botic's probably not ready to do that opening round home slant. Like it's actually a horrible matchup when you start thinking about it.
But I do.
There are some for Botic. Yeah. And I think there are some fun matches here. Like I'm gonna say, Tsitsipas is a little bit on notice. I think with the year that he had last year, like decent year. Still, I mean, obviously coming into this tournament 11 in the world, right? He's doing fine, but Alex Mickelson is not a joke. Alex is the kind of player that like he can make balls and he can like take advantage of, he can rush Tsitsipas on that backhand side. I think that's actually that's a horrible first round for Tsitsipas.
It's he reminds me of and has big serve. I don't like the matchup for Tsitsipas, but I like it for Tsitsipas's level. If he has rebound like I think he has and to come through, but you're right here, if he doesn't, man, the ghost of the last couple of years past will haunt him. And then again, if he gets through that round, I could see him playing some better tennis each round. If he doesn't, this is where Alex and any of those players on that half, Nardi, Diallo, can all come through again until one of them faces. And that's when a Manarino and a Kachanov start to really, lurk, because they're those players that are
right.
It's somebody beat Stefanos. Hey, let's book that hotel for an extra week. You know what I mean? Let's book the hotel for an extra week. Where I might be here a little while. And those are those guys that have always tough to beat late. And those later rounds, once that big C gets done, and Manarino's never a fun style. No one plays quite like him, so that's a tough matchup. Again, I see everything going the way it should in this round. We haven't talked a lot about Holger. In my opinion, he is about as mercurial as any player in the top 20 right now. I've seen the kid play great. I've seen the kid play bad. He's a bit of an enigma to me. I've seen. I just don't know what level he's going to bring from one day to the next. He's still trying to figure out himself, in my opinion, and I don't know, has he done it yet? I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. I think he's got the benefit of being on the side minus de Minaur another round or two, and he faces de Minaur in that round. I don't like that matchup for Holger. I mean,
no. He's going up to Jannik.
That's what I'm saying.
He'd have to beat Jannik first.
That's my point. I don't like him going up against de Minaur. I'm saying against, but ironically, I don't see anybody beating Jannik in that top half. I'm just saying I would have seen him as a 13 seed. If he's one or two spots different, I don't like his chances against other players, but I don't like his chances. I think Stefanos beats Rune better than he beats Mickelson, Diallo, or Nardi. You know what I mean? That's just what it is, because I think in his mind he's going to dial in. You know what I mean? But now you talk about, to me, Holger. Holger will have his hands full against Berrettini. You heard it right here.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. I think that's Holger's interesting. Like, I think mercurial is a really good word for him. Like, he fancies himself as part of the Sinner and Alcaraz category, right? Because he has some banner wins against big players at big tournaments. Well, non-Grand Slam tournaments made as they were, but like, he's beaten Carlos, he's beaten Djokovic. Like, he's shown that he can beat those players, but the losses he takes and the inconsistencies he has throughout the year makes me feel like he is a 10 through 15 kind of player, not a top 5 player. Like, he would struggle maybe against, he could have his hands full against Cam Norrie or Berrettini, but then like also, if he gets there, could he beat Jannik Sinner? Like, probably.
Yeah,
like,
sure. Like, yeah, probably.
It's like, it's one of those
possible.
weird things. Yeah. So like, I don't know how I feel about him, like his, like, over the course of 12 months. But like, if he gets to a 4th-round match against Yannick Sinner, is that like something I'm going to like dismiss out of hand? Like, no, I'm not actually, because
no, for sure.
while I
Especially if
don't
he's playing
know
well.
what Yannick, I don't know what Holger Rune is as a player. Like, what does he do well? I don't know. But can he beat good players?
Everything.
Yeah, he
the
can.
Guy does everything well.
Yeah, exactly.
His back, he has on paper every stroke, but he at the same time, what he does it. He's so mercurial. You don't know one day to the next. And let me tell you something. His matchup against Hubert is a great matchup for Holger. You know what I mean? It's just the bigger the player, the more they bring it, the better Holger is. Right. So even that matchup, I like.
He gets up for the big ones, but then like will maybe not show up for the ones, the quote unquote routine matches if you're trying to make a championship.
That's right.
Championship.
That's right.
Career.
That's what I see. Quarter number 2,
all right,
Alvin,
so let's roll.
Is once again
let's get into this,
bro. Woo!
Let's get into this. Yeah,
man.
Yeah, this is Taylor's top half. This is Taylor's quarter. Top half of that quarter starts off with Fritz, and at the bottom half of it is Musetti. So this is
Musetti, right.
I'm calling this just the top half of that quarter. I'm calling this the Kill Your Countryman section, because we've got a lot of intra-country matchups here, like Fritz versus Brooksby. Welcome back, Jensen Brooksby. Haven't seen you in a while. We got Gale versus GMP in the first round. You got Shelton versus Nakashima in the first round. You've got Musetti versus Arnaldi in the first round. So we got of these 8 matches here, 4 of them are intra-country matches. Let's start with what? Actually, you tell me, where do you want to start? Where do you want to start in this in the top half of this quarter?
I think you have to come out to GMP and Gale. I think that's the one that really speaks to me as the matchup that I see being the most I'm going to say career making, right? The sun setting on Gale. Love the kid. Absolutely think that he's a peer of Scoville and the other top Americans that I worked with back in the day. One of my absolute all-time favorite memories was watching that kid in the ITFs back in the day. Some of my most spectacular moments. I mean, I still remember Gale Monfils playing a point at Roehampton, slid right in front of me, and Sco Sr. slid, shoe gets caught in the fence, plays this point out for about 7 more shots with one shoe. I mean, and wins this, ran down multiple drop shots and lobs, and comes back to get his shoe, winks at us like it kind of gives me old click of the tongue, like, you like that? You like that? And it let me know that this kid is a showman. He loves to play and loves to play in front of people. Like, if that point had been in front of nobody, he would have been crushed. Like, nobody saw that. I mean, he just loves and he's been that way since he's been on the tour. Love Gale. The sun is setting on Gale, and he's, 38 now, give or take. Got to be about the same age as Skull, so got to be about 37,
38, something like that, yep.
And now his fellow countryman is now paving the way. He ain't going to give it to him, you know what I mean? But GMP, this is now that matchup for GMP. This is a, very similar, different game styles, but very similar to an Isner playing against a Riley Opelka type in the sense of what they bring to the table, and both being fellow countrymen. I see this matchup being a very good one for GMP. We're going to see if he can actually hold on to that seeding that he's so hard earned. But without getting too far ahead, I will also say the same thing now goes to Brandon and the Ben. And I think that's my second favorite matchup I like in this section. But I cannot not speak to Shapovalov and Batista Agut, which is, to me, on paper, perhaps the toughest match of this little mini section here.
Yeah, okay, so Monfils versus Impesci Pericard, right? Yeah, on paper, I think this is the one that they show on ESPN. Right. Like, this is a focal match.
This is a passing of the torch match, right? This is a passing of the torch match.
This is the weird,
or should be.
Yeah, here's the thing. It should be. I think GMP is getting a lot of attention right now, and I've thrown heaps of praise on him in previous episodes. I'm always he's a big dude with a big serve, and the trajectory's coming at you in a very, very strong way.
Sure.
And the way he moves and the way he actually plays, like as a tennis player, is I think the most impressive part of the whole package. But don't you bury Gael Monfils quite yet. That man's playing in a final right like today, right? So like today. Today I watched him last night, and I was like, this man won't die. Okay, so this is why I think, and I think Riley Opelka actually said this after beating Novak last week, is like when you can't do some things. Riley said he's like, I can never get into a corner to corner rally with Novak, so it actually makes it quite simple for me. I have to go big shot, big, like first ball, first strike, kind of. Sure. And if I get a second serve, I got a second serve return, I got to rip it. Like that's it. It's pretty straightforward. I think on the opposite side of that, Gael knows what he has to do. He's experienced against players like this. Right? Like he came up playing against Isner and the likes. Right?
His fellow former number one was this way. And Jocelyn Wana. People don't remember Jocelyn, former number one in the world.
Okay,
junior.
Yeah.
And Jocelyn actually favors Giovanni a little bit. I mean, and Jocelyn was 6'5", 6'6". Jocelyn was every day a bigger, better athlete. Hard to say I'm more athletic than Gael, but he was, and looked like he was 25. I mean, when he was out there smashing the ball, babyface, but 100 just huge serve. So I said to say, and the final of Australian Open in the juniors in 2004 was Jocelyn Wana, 1 seed, Gael Monfils, either the 2 or 3 or 4. I think he'd become the 2 seed. That was Gael's first big win over Jocelyn at that time, and found a way to return. Of course, we never heard from Jocelyn at the highest level later on. Gael became a household name. So just to say, I was there many years ago in Australia when this happened. So the kid has certainly found a way to morph as I call him, the aggressive baseliner mixed with the retriever, and he has morphed and started that whole morph that I spoke about in a previous episode of that game style. So like I said, he's not going to give it to you. You're going to have to take it from him.
Yeah, I think Gael defends at a level that like he'll be comfortable. Like once you get past the serve, I think Gael will be very, very comfortable giving up some space, running around, and then making because GMP is going to come forward. Like he comes forward a lot. I think,
and he should.
We start talking about who. Yeah. There's not. Yeah, there aren't players much better at hitting passing shots from 10 to 12 feet behind the baseline than Gael Monfils, though.
100%.
And sucking the crowd into it. Like
100%.
I feel like it's gonna be one of those like twilight matches on like John Cain Arena or something like that, where it's 6 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not a night match. It's the last match on. It just feels like not so fast. Like just not yet, buddy. You're gonna have to bury me. It ain't happening here.
I could not agree more, and that's why I'm looking forward to watch. That's why it was the first match that I mentioned. I also feel like we have to speak to, before we get to Ben, we have to speak to that Batista Agut and Shapovalov match, because that to me could have fireworks written all over it. Very contrasting styles, right? But it's again, that's a tough one to come out of. I kind of give the edge to Batista Agut just because of heat, temperatures, and returns. However, Dennis can get hot. Your fellow lefty, he can get hot. He can slap that serve. If I'm not mistaken, about 8 years ago, this was his tournament. He came out and had his whole wrecking ball, moment in the Australia when he came out with that big serve and slapping balls. So this is a tournament that favors him, and as long as the points are short and his serve is clicking, he's certainly not an afterthought for anybody.
Right. I just think the issue here is like Batista Agut is playing. I think he's back to playing. He's back to playing the tennis that he's accustomed to producing. He had a bad 2024, maybe up until about September when he kind of started riding the ship. And I think probably you could say the same for Dennis as well. Like Dennis finished the year pretty strong. I just feel like that matchup, like RBA is going to come flat through the court a lot.
100%.
And if like Dennis's best, that
he needs
Dennis
to get
wants
under
to go
that ball.
Forehand.
That he wants to get under that ball.
Yeah, he needs to get under that ball. Yeah, and RBA's not going to let him. Like he's not going to let him. And then RBA's backhand on the line is rock solid. So I think it's actually a on paper it looks like a fun match, but like I guarantee you Dennis isn't looking forward to this match.
Horrible matchup for
It's
Dennis.
not gonna be fun for him. It's a horrible matchup for him.
Let's look a little bit further down the road in Musetti playing the winner of that matchup should he get through Matteo Arnaldi. That's what I'm saying. So that could be if I'm Musetti, I don't like that match. That's where I've got a former top. What's Roberto been? Top 10, top 8, give or take at a certain point in time.
Yeah.
Right, and now you got a former top 10 going against me, who's a 16 seed. Who's playing well, but I'm not playing against some no name. You know what I mean? So those are the kind of matches. That's why this quarter 2 is absolutely sick and ripe with talent. Who do you like? Let's just say Bautista Good wins. Who do you like between Lorenzo and Roberto?
Yep. And let's make the assumption that Lorenzo's going to win because Matteo Arnaldi, same age as Lorenzo, like they're both like 23 years old, 21, 23, something like that.
Okay.
Lorenzo has the edge in that matchup, but it gets closer every time they play.
Right.
On hard court, I think Lorenzo's going to win that match, like probably in 5, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But I like. Oh God. Oh.
Say it.
RBA versus Lorenzo. I think RBA actually wins that match.
I like RBA too in that match.
Actually wins that match.
Here's the second while you're not so comfortable putting it out there. Carina Busta against a qualifier. Don't know who it is at this point. Will play the winner of Brandon and Ben. Now that's not a good matchup for either one of those guys either. Got me. Now let's just assume for assumptions Ben takes that match. I don't like him playing Carina Busta. I think that's a tough matchup for Ben. You know what I mean? I actually like Brandon against Carina Busta a little bit better, right? But I like Ben over Brandon in this match. This quarter 2 is rough, man, and we haven't even finished. This is the top half.
Yeah, and that's why I don't even think I see. This is the thing. Like, what does Ben want to do? Let's say, like, once he gets past the serve, right? What is Ben trying to do within a rally? He's trying to get that forehand hooking, which he doesn't hook that well, actually, for a lefty. He doesn't hook it that well.
He doesn't hook it well at all. Let me tell you, we talked about this earlier, and I want to go briefly into it. Rock, paper, scissors. We know his big serve. Ben has a very underrated backhand slice, and his volleys are better than you think. If he has worked on the rock, paper, scissors B game, his B game, especially on hard court, could be that massive kick out wide, coming forward the lefty volley open court to the ad. If he has gotten his B game tight, I like him for 3-4 matches into this all the way through Musetti. If he's still slapping from the baseline, if he's still just relying on the big serve and running big slap forehands and taking too many risks on the inside out, I don't like him past 1 or 2 rounds. And I think that if he's playing old Ben, last year, Ben Shelton tennis, I think Pablo beats him. He certainly will not be ready for Musetti / Bautista Agut, right? And I just don't like him in general to go far. If he's got B game tight, you can save that for an occasional point where the guy hits a good return. You can save the big slap forehand for that occasional moment. I remember the match he beat Tiafoe. For that matter, he had a couple of matches in that when he first got on the scene, and I want to say who did he play that matchup before he played Novak, where he had those huge big forehands in the breaker. Was it Tiafoe? I want to say it was Tiafoe in that matchup. Hit some big shots out of nowhere. And in the breaker, hit some shots he had no business even trying, let alone making. In a breaker, just absolutely broke people's ankles. But I said to say that was fool's gold because you can only go to the well so many times with those kind of shots. He gets that backhand slice working. He gets that volley working. He gets that coming in on occasional second serve and catches a slip when you're trying to go heavy reset with the return. And he takes that low ball. Yeah, his backhand low slice can go to your backhand because most people are righty. And now he's got, what are you going to do? Pop up to his forehand volley? You know what I mean? Who hits a low dipper down the line? Nobody. Everybody dips it across. So now you got Ben taking advantage of the net. So if he's got that part of his game down, Alvin, Ben Sheldon could come out of this, has a legitimate shot to come out of this part of the quarter all day. If he doesn't, his first and second round could be very precarious.
Yeah, and that's the sneaky part about tennis is it's not in the names, it's not in the numbers next to the names, it's in the matchups, right? Like down to the court level.
Yep.
The thing that you're talking about, that Ben's going to want to go that lefty forehand, cross court to your backhand, and then start to dictate from there, right?
Yep.
What is Brandon Nagashima's best shot?
Backhand the whole day.
Backhand. He's going to hit it right into that backhand, and Brandon's going to be like, "Thank you, please let me have another." And then so you talk about Ben's slice. You talk about Ben's slice backhand going down the line. Where does that go? Right into Brandon's backhand. Right.
100%.
So I think this is one of those matchups where it's actually quite terrible for Ben, because unless he does the thing that you were talking about earlier, where he's hitting that kicker and he's getting in behind it, trying to pinch off points at the net, like short ones, because I think everything that Ben wants to do from the baseline just kind of works into Brandon's favor, just because Brandon's
100%.
backhand is rock solid. I think that's the problem.
Provided he plays him smart, he will play him Nadal style, not Ben Shelton style. Nadal would always run your forehand first, and if anything, his first inside out was inside in. His first forehand was on the backhand was inside out, not inside in. He wanted to run you again to your forehand until the wide opening got big enough. To your point, Nadal had a left hook forehand. The problem with Ben is going to have to play Brandon all day to the forehand side. Backhands all day cross. Chip and charge on that side. Backhand cross to the forehand. He's going to have to go forehand line. He's going to have to go out wide, almost Nadal style, where he's going to serve everything to the forehand side. Brandon doesn't have bad forehand, but his backhand is just solid. And I feel like he'll give ground on that forehand. If Ben can rock the forehand line and be smart, not sloppy, if he can stay cross-court and discipline with that backhand cross all day, serve well, return okay, Brandon's serve isn't as big as Ben's, clearly, then I think that's a great matchup for Ben if he plays him smart. If he doesn't, and he plays loose, or he gets broken, he could be in a 4 or 5 setter that he should not have been, and that does not bode well for him going into Pablo in the next round. That's just me. By the way, let me add one more little wrinkle in this one for you, and I just want to tease it. Borna Coric could face Taylor Fritz in the second round, which is never that's a bad matchup for Taylor on the exact same, not to the same level, but to the very similar deal, because Taylor plays monochromatic to me sometimes with big serving forehand, and Coric has a backhand all day long. So those are some matchups there that I'm looking at to say, dude, if he and Coric will play a qualifier, and I don't want to look past Jensen Brooksby, but just saying, you look at some of these matchups, who they're playing against, dude. This is some stuff. This is some tough stuff, man. This quarter two, buddy. I don't like the matchups for some of these players. I don't like GMP. The matchup with Gale. I definitely don't like Ben and Brandon. And as I say, Roberto is on paper everything Dennis does, Roberto likes. This is some tough playing right here. This is some tough. Oh, while I just sneak down.
Yeah, Dennis versus RBA is almost like Ben versus Brandon.
That's right. And don't forget, you got Stan, who might play Rublev in the second round, bro. This dude. This is some...
before but I mean, even to the point of you were mentioning Borna Coric potentially matching up with Fritz in the second round. He's playing a qualifier, but that qualifier is Christian Garin, right? Who's former top 20 in the world. He's not just your average qualifier.
That's right.
Had some injuries, made his way back, and so he's battling back up the rankings, comes through qualies, but Christian Garin is he's nobody's day in the park, right? So this is the quarter that could be a 500 in its own, or a high level 250 in its own. If you saw this as the Rotterdam draw, you'd be like, oh, good tournament.
Good tournament. Right, this quarter alone, you know what I mean? So no question. And if we can, let's tiptoe down to that second one. I mentioned Rublev possibly against Wawrinka. Again, Swiss and Italy might as well be especially if he's lower part of Italy, might as well be a Swiss. He's speaking, I should say, lower part of Switzerland being close to Italy, I should say. Might as well, they speak more Italian there anyway. I am going to have to give Stan the love here over Lorenzo. I'm also going to, selfishly look forward to that match against Rublev, because you add pace to a matchup and a guy like Rublev, who's known to blow a gasket or two at times. I could see that being an ideal matchup for Stan, because he doesn't mind the pace, and he's got a player who could hit big, but who's known to miss one or two and can kind of hit himself out of his coverage area. I like Stan in that matchup, and that would completely blow the lid wide open on that side of things. And now you got Tiafoe coming hopefully out of that same section. That could be some sparks right there. To see Tiafoe play one of the former greats and Grand Slam champs, that would be a match I would really look forward to seeing. Certainly no bad matchup between Tiafoe and Rublev, make no mistake. But I'm selfish. I'd love to see Stan win that match. Who do you have against Tiafoe, Rublev, assuming they both get that far?
Yeah, so I think the issue here is the issue with Stan is the same issue that everyone as they get older, you lose a step. And what does that mean in terms of tennis, right?
Yeah.
It's Stan has lost the ability to quickly win points.
Yep.
That's what's plaguing him in Grand Slam matches. That's the same thing that plagued Andy Murray last year and the year before. Getting into these long, drawn-out, early round matches takes a toll on the body, on any body, especially if your body is over 35, right? That match against if Wawrinka gets past Sonego, which he probably will, I think he will. It ain't going to be easy.
Yep.
And whenever he plays the winner of Fonseca and Rublev, he's going to be 48 hours later, he's 39 years old. It might be 40 by now. Okay,
might be. Yep.
Let's allow ourselves to assume that Stan rolls back the clock and gets through one of those two players. It ain't going to be in straight sets. It ain't going to be quick points, right? So now he's going to be rolling into the third round with somewhere between 8 and 10 sets on his body. Yep. That's going to be the problem. That's the issue in itself.
But I don't see Stan
it's the Grand Slam of things, not the tennis of things.
But I don't see Stan going more than 3 rounds anyway. So he's playing it for 4 rounds, Alvin. He's playing. I mean, reaching a round of 16 would be a career highlight for a guy at 39, 40 years old. Here's my point, and I want you to speak to Fonseca because you've seen him a little more than I have. That, to me, is the breakout matchup for him as well as he's been playing. I'm only mentioning it on Rublev's side because Rublev is one of those players that has been around top 10 for a while, that has never truly gotten past where he's semi-worthy. Final, no chance. He's even stubbed his toe in a few round of 16s. Always made up for it, always come back and play some good tennis and got back in that top 15 to 20. But Rublev is a player who has never truly answered his own demons, his own doubts about, am I a true, legitimate top 4 player in the world at this time? And I feel like that is a matchup for Fonseca to really come through and have a chance at some blood in the water if you can hang. And either way, Fonseca will be the better for playing that match because there's nobody that hits it bigger, nobody that brings it on both sides, nobody that's more intense and will crush. You want to see if your game's ready, you go play Andre Rublev. You know what I mean? And if you can hang and get a couple of sets, unfortunate for me, if that match goes 5 sets, I give that match to Fonseca. If that match goes 3, at least from what I'm seeing right now, that match goes Rublev. And to my point, I just feel like the longer it goes, the more the doubt creeps in, the more anger, the more that lack of calm, that veneer starts to melt away from Andre a little bit. And I really feel like at that point, he could have a chance. And as I say, at that point, Father Time, while it is undefeated, the Wawrinka, he could play a spoiler for somebody, in the first couple of rounds, given the opportunity.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on this, what they call a bit of a banner match between Andre Rublev and João Fonseca, the Brazilian hotshot that had everyone up in a roar, kind of early summer of last year, and then he obviously won the next gen competition, and he went through qualifying with very little resistance. So he is looking to make that "I am here" statement. But maybe this match is less about him and more about Andre. What say you?
I think it's more about him, and here's why I say it. Andre Rublev has been out there on the tour, give or take 7 years now.
Right.
We all know he grew up with Danielle. They were childhood buddies and rivals, came on the tour at the same time. They both kind of broke top 50 on the same time. Unfortunately, top 20-ish. Unfortunately for him, Danielle went on to win a slam and has been a part of 3 finals, if memory serves.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, Andre has yet to make his first. I don't think he's made a semi.
I don't think he's made a semi. No, he's a quarterfinalist at heart.
Right. Now, that said, I feel like the unfortunate part for him, and I love Andre's game, he is the banger's banger. I mean, if you're a big ball striker, you can't help but like Andre Rublev. The unfortunate part of that game, right? You mentioned earlier about Batista Goods or Demonar. Sorry, his B game is his A game.
Mm-hmm.
Andre is the exact opposite. His A game is all he has. It's all A game. And if at first you don't hit it big enough, hit it bigger on the second ball. and he's one of those kind of players where no one hits it bigger, no one hits it cleaner, no one can handle pace and create pace like Andre Rublev, but that's almost to his default. It's his Achilles heel. And I think that if Fonseca can find a way to catch up to the pure speed of this ball and the impact, and I from what I've seen of him, there's no reason he can't. Andre will have to play lights out for 3 sets and win in 3 sets for this match to be routine. If he does so, this match can look like a roller coaster, can look like a steamroller. If it does not, and you give this young player, this Fonseca kid, a chance to get a foothold in the match, 2 things, very different things enter the match. Confidence on Fonseca's side, doubt on Rublev's side. And if this match goes 5, to me, it 100% tilts to Fonseca's favor. This is how big this matchup is for me. I personally feel, given that, it's on Fonseca to catch up and handle and counter, not so much on Rublev to come in and stub his toe. I also feel that once he handles a Rublev, this is a match for him that lets him know, I have arrived, I'm here, and I can pretty much handle the best of the best. This is that kind of matchup for me, for him.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think Andre, for him to get through this match, right? I think you're spot on. It's like, it's got to be in straights. It's got to be in a situation where maybe, I think this is Fonseca's first Grand Slam. Right. No, he played Wimbledon and U.S. Open last year. So, actually, he didn't qualify for either one of them. He lost in quali. So this is his first main draw of a Grand Slam, right? So you kind of, I guess Andre's got to hope that the moment itself of being there is too big, overwhelms him a little bit. Right. Yeah, because if Fonseca gets into this match, I don't think there's much between them in the tennis. I think the tennis is once they get to hitting forehands and backhands, this is a toss up. If not, you throw it to the player who doesn't have the scars, right? So like if you get into a situation where like Rublev drops like the second set or something, and we go into a third and it's 1-1, you start seeing the racket punching, the hitting himself in the leg with the racket. Like once that starts creeping out, I think that's where Fonseca goes like, okay, I got him. I'm here. And then this becomes the coming out party. And I think Rublev is the kind of guy where that could actually weigh on his mind. He might be thinking about that during the actual match. I'm thinking about it, I'm getting wound up tight, like for Andre.
100%.
Right.
No reason he could.
So I think and that's the reason why like the if you know kind of match, like people who know about Fonseca are like all like, oh yeah, this is not going to be straightforward for anybody. This could get ugly. It could get ugly. Let's just put it that way.
I hate it for Andre like I hated it for my main man, Tomas Berdych, of some years ago. He has been, while Berdych used to get to several semis and not necessarily quarters, seemed like he never could break in and win and get to that final. I don't think Berdych got to a final. I think he got to several. I want to say one year he reached all 4 semis. and did not reach the final. And those are matches where you just you get to that point, you're like, oh, you could see a Murray who got to so many finals, but lost and only won 2 slams for all the finals he went into, right? But winning one lets you know you can win one. And I think that's what Danielle is going to end up being to some degree. He's never reached a semi. And so that's going to weigh on Andre. It's going to weigh on him at some point. As I said, you go from being the hunter to the hunted. And that's where he is in this tournament. I don't want to make too big a deal about this. And the young kid has a bright future regardless of his match. I don't know if Rublev, I'm certainly far from being sunsetted, but he's going to be tested in the first 3 rounds of this tournament should he last that long. And I will also say I don't like his matchup with, and that's part of the draw. I don't like his matchup with Karina Busta. With Batista Agut. I don't like his matchup with the possible Wawrinka. I don't like his matchup, down the road with Popyrin. I mean, there's just so many little Tiafoe, and then of course on the end of that, Popyrin and Danielle. I think he would pray for a match against his buddy Danielle coming out of this situation. But there's a lot of tough. And in that match, I actually favor him off of just pure destiny alone. But that's about a 25% chance of getting there all the way through. That's just what I'm seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, as you start to extrapolate, to the fourth round of this little small section here. I think Medi gets through simply because if Rublev gets through this match and then even gets to the 3rd round and plays Francis kind of owns Andre. It's actually a really bad matchup for him. And then let's say he somehow gets through that one. Medi has never lost to Andre. He beats him every single time.
Right.
Like big brother, little brother style. It's
100%.
This is just it's a bad draw. It's just a bad draw for Andre. Now, granted, he should. I guess on paper, he should get to the 4th round and lose to Danielle.
Out of sentimentality alone.
Right. Yeah.
And Danielle's been a little dinged up. I think it's possible. Is it likely? No. Far from likely. As I said, in my opinion, in decreasing order, he's got a 66% chance of winning his first one. He's got a 50% chance of winning his second, and he's got a 33% chance of winning the third, and so on and so on. And as I said, and as it keeps going down, Rublev, because he'll face Francis in 3rd round? Oof. You know what I mean? So
third round. Yeah.
It's a tough. Again, we talk about matchups. And if he doesn't and he stubs his toe, he's a 9 seed that could very easily become a 17 or a 21 through 29 seed after that, with points coming off and not having the right situation. So this is a tough tournament for him. It really is. And I feel bad for Andre because he's a great player, probably one of the best ball strikers the men's tour has. And unfortunately, he's gonna. This is a tough tournament for him. It'll be great to see him calm his nerves, dispatch this young qualifier and up and coming player like he's supposed to. But buddy, this is not this whole quarter is tough, and specifically for Andre Rublev, it's even tougher.
Yeah, and So we'll keep moving forward here. Keep looking ahead. I think we're getting towards the top half. This is what we'll just call it the Novak section.
Yep.
This section, I want to. Okay, there's a few things to unpack in this section. One, I just I think Novak is probably going. He's got a good draw. He's likely going to come out of the top half of this quarter. He's going to have to die before I say he's not a favorite here. But
yep.
So Novak's got a interesting match against a young American, former college tennis player. He played 1 year at Stanford, Basha Veretti. Yep. I saw him last night, played against Gael, actually had Gael dead to rights in the first set breaker, let it slip away, some, gamesmanship there. Not gamesmanship, but Gael is just I've been here 30 times, before you probably even got out of high school. So, not to say that it's going to be a tough match for for Novak. But what do you know about Mr. Basafaretti?
I don't know enough about him. That's unfortunate. I need to dial in and pick up a little bit and see where he's at. I do know, and from what you and I have spoken about, his game style is very similar, which tells me that he's been trained off of that model. When you play against that model, you find out very quickly that model has layers.
Yeah.
Model. And so what you're now realizing is that you think you've got something, or that you're playing like him. The actual model knows the blueprint as well as you do and has ways to counter himself. The rock, paper, scissors, you've got your attacking game, you've got your defending game, and you got your all-court, game. Novak now has all three. He is the avatar. And the unfortunate part of that to me is that Novak, when people start going high and heavy, Novak knows how to come and knock off a volley, certain volley from time to time. When people try to go big, that's his wheelhouse, that's his favorite, that's the Briar Rabbit and the Briar Patch, right? And then, of course, he has a step-up forehand. In addition to that unbelievable backhand, he can pass. The only people, you mentioned earlier about the profile players that can beat him, the only players that beat Novak are younger Novaks that have proven they can do it. Nishesh is not quite in that category yet, I'm sure. Center is Alcaraz is just a right-handed Nadal who has faster legs and who can catch him off balance. A younger Novak would dispatch Carlos. You heard it right here. Unfortunately, he is not a younger Novak. And that's why we're having this matchup. That's why I feel Carlos is kind of snuck in here a little bit. You know what I mean? So it's just something that you have to understand how that matchup works. And ironically, because they're both right-handed, right? Carlos has a pretty good backhand, but he doesn't mind going forehand and trading. Where Nadal's best ball, he likes to go cross court. Nadal, Novak loves his backhand. So it's actually one of those matchups where against a righty, he's actually a little more a righty that plays like Nadal. He's actually a little more vulnerable to a righty than he is a lefty because of his backhand. So I feel like Nishesh is gonna put in a valiant effort. Look forward to him playing many more years in the future. Long line of Stanford players that have come through and played a year or two and gone through, including Johnny Mack, all the way down through to Bryans and everybody else. But I just don't know if he is ready for this situation. It's a career match. He should video this match and find out, if I ever play him again, here's what I will do. And this is what I need to develop in my game. As I've kind of built this level of play off of this template. Now let me actually consult the architect here and see what he's going to do to me and how my game can be exposed, because he could be around for a while. Novak, we know, is toward the end of his long shelf life. But again, this match may be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and it should be. This is what a Novak Djokovic career is made of. It's taking everything, and if you're not ready, like, you're not ready. This doesn't even actually come out as a footnote for Novak. 100%. It's just the thing that he has to do in round one.
Let me add one quick thing, because I want to get this before I forget. Quarter two was the most wide open. Tough, mind you, but wide open more than tough. Not to say the players aren't good. Everybody in this tournament is phenomenal. This quarter is the toughest, especially when you consider Novak and Alcaraz in it. And I want to make that point briefly, that we talk a lot about quarter two and how much possible, volatility, so to speak. This quarter here, man, look at some of the names. I mean, when you have to relegate a Riley Opelka, right,
who just beat Novak last week, right? Like, just beat him.
To second tier. When you've got former tops like Fognini and Dimitrov that are Dimitrov's a seed, low seed, and you've got guys like Draper and guys like who does I don't want to get to Carlos's version yet. Scroll up for me on your draw. Let me see who the second half is. There was two of the names that were that big.
Yeah, Korda. He's got Korda and down there, and then
Korda, Reed. I was gonna say Casper. You've got, who else is there? Was one other pretty big name that I was like, wow, this name
So I mean, in this particular quarter, in this actual quarter itself, I think this is Alcaraz and Dimitrov.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've got, I'm just saying, I look at there were 7 names there that I was like, wow. And that they will feed ultimately to Alcaraz and Djokovic. I'm like, buddy, you gotta face them just to get out of the quarter.
Yeah.
And now you got those two in a quarterfinal match. This was the toughest quarter of the 4, especially with those two. Those two in any other year would be 1 and 2 seeds. I mean, let's be honest.
Oh yeah, for sure. And this is the weird part about, you see in this particular quarter where you have Djokovic and Alcaraz. This is the weirdness of the time that we're in, right?
Right.
They're probably 2 of the best 3 players in the world. I mean, They're definitely probably 2 of the best 4 players in the world, right?
For sure.
You got to put Alexander Zverev in there somewhere. But the fact that Novak is playing a much lighter schedule, you're going to start to see that reflected in his seedings, right? He just doesn't have that. He's not going to have as many points to work with if he's going to be playing just the slams and maybe a handful of Masters 1000s here and there.
Yep.
You're going to see him slotted in somewhere between 7 and 16 in a lot of these events, and that's going to throw some things off. That's going to make it a little bit whatever heavy that side that he ends up on is going to be a little heavier than it needs to be.
Right.
You're going to end up with like a top 2 of the top 4 seeds and Novak in one half.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So I think and then Carlos with his still yet to find his level of consistency as a player. Right. Like obviously his ceiling is through the roof, but he throws in some squirrels every once in a while.
Yep.
There's no reason for him to be seeded 3. He's ranked 3 in the world, right? That's the thing that's throwing this off. He should be, if he's taking care of his business as he should be doing out there, he should be the 2 seed in this event. But just with him and Zverev switching spots, that makes this a little more interesting, if you will.
I will say good fortune for Zverev, because had Novak been in that section, it's over. He beats Zverev. He knows it, and Zverev knows it. Because Zverev doesn't, there's a chance. Now, Zverev's going to face him in the semi if everything stays true to form. The other side of this is it also puts all the volatility in that second quarter we mentioned, with the likes of those players that are in that section, and doesn't give them the true test that it should, and that's why it's so volatile. The player I was talking about was Goffin, and Goffin's another perennial, top 15, top 10 player who's right there, and again. There's almost every other block. There is a player that you're like, wow, that's a tough play. Wow, that's a tough draw. Wow. And again, and we both know Father Time is rising on Fognini and Dimitrov, and that some of the players are much younger. But to me, that also speaks to experience. As I mentioned about Wawrinka earlier, it's not to say that they are a step slow per se. They're maybe a round less vulnerable, and the older they get, a round less vulnerable. As the elder statesman of the 2 of us, I was still pretty good for a set at 40.
Okay.
I could not play 3 out of 5 for love nor money. But for a set, I was okay. At 35, I was still good 2 out of 3. 3 out of 5, no question. I was out. I was out after 3, right? I better win 2, right? But I hope I had some help in the third. But it's not to say, and especially with the state of fitness and sports science these days, these guys are not going to be unfit.
Right.
The issue is going to be, can they be there week 2? And that's where I say, not so much. They're going to need some help. What I like about the depth of this tournament this year, and I love about the depth and the age of this tournament, is this year's guys, Basavarati in particular, all the young players coming up, Fonseca, are going to get tested by veterans. And all too often, the GOATs sometimes leave abruptly. And you don't have a chance to beat the GOAT or beat the man to become the man. And that hurts you years into the future. The biggest thing that Novak has done, technically Carlos has done, he's had a chance to beat Novak to fully assume the mantle. And the same now with Yannick Sinner. And I feel like those are matches where I know Zverev's got some head-to-head wins against Novak, and it's rough, and he's played long enough to do so. Not necessarily on the big stage.
Never in a slam.
Enough, right?
Never in a slam.
But he and still has a chance to. Again, this year I think will be his best. Let's face it, as they continue, the chances get even less likely. But I look at these kind of players and I look at who comes out of Fognini and Dimitrov. Excellent match. And they'll play against Bonzi and Goffin. And the winner of those two plays them, you got Jessica, you got Gaston, and you got Lou, and you got Lecheka. These guys are younger players who have not been on this side of these guys' net before, right? Same with Riley and Onolin, and the winner of that will play against Nagal and Machayo. They will feed into Novak, most likely, and now they get a chance to be tested. Now they know, dude. Novak may be 39, 40 years old, but or what is he, 37, 38? But he is all day. He is all day. Novak.
I think
that helps those guys. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. The depth can only be true contenders, right? You're not a contender because you made the draw. You're a contender because you went deep in the draw. And when you faced that level of competition, now you're a contender.
Yeah. And I think the Novak of it all is like, he's gonna get into probably the third round before he gets much of a true test, and that test is going to come in the form of one of two things, right? So it's either going to be Riley Opelka or it's going to be Tomas Machac, right? Yep. And Machac is good. Like Machac is the guy's no joke. Czech player. He's good. He has a tendency to kind of flake out in the back end of tough matches. He's like physically, he's smaller. But he hits a big ball, so that takes more out of him. His legs tends to cramp a bit. So,
is this the young guy that played with the hat turned backwards and Max out of the ball? I did not pronounce his name.
Yeah,
I remember this player playing about 2 or 3 years ago. Absolutely crushes it on both sides.
Yeah, and he's starting to put some results together now, right? So, so the way the draw lays out, right, it's going to be Machac versus probably Opelka in the second round. And that's interesting because that match is not going to be, to beat someone like Riley Opelka, you're going to have to return well, you're going to have to just kind of be solid and wait for your opportunities, but it's not going to tax him. Right. It's not going to tax him, right? And it's not going to, Riley's never going to get taxed per se anyway. So I think whoever comes out of that match and meets Novak in the third round is going to present a different obstacle for Novak in that one. Riley just beat Novak last week. In their first ever meeting, which is strange that Riley's never played Novak before last week, but
he ain't played around that far in some tournaments. You heard it right here.
And then and then he was injured for a year and a half or so. So yeah, that makes sense, I guess. But Novak has played Riley in 2 sets and lost both of them. So that there is something like I'm sure he'll figure it out, especially over 5. Yeah. But that's one thing. But if it's Thomas Machac, that's just going to be an open slugfest. Like they're just going to be ripping at each other, and I don't think that's going to bother Novak. I think this, if anything, it's going to sharpen him for the moving into the the fourth round. But it's just one of those, when you look at the draw like this, you go, there's some stuff going on here where if Novak shows up in week 2, he's going to be ready. And that's what he needs right now. He needs matches. He needs competitive matches. He hasn't played one since he skipped ATP finals, so whatever's right before that. That's just kind of what he needs. And I also, the millennial in me, Fognini and Dimitrov. Yeah, man, let's do it. Let's roll it back. Let's let the old guys smack around a few out there.
Dude, Fognini is, shout out to Sco Jenkins on this one. He beats Fognini in juniors, and I thought for the whole 2 hours of that match that Fognini was hurt,
right,
tanking, or both. And it was still 4-5 or 4-4. And to this day, I'm like, I don't know if you beat him or if he just gave up. I still don't know. You know what I mean?
And he's been true to form since then. It's
not changed.
He's the only player who can hit the cleanest forehand with 0 footwork. He's the coach's nightmare.
My God. Well, and lace it at the time you least expect it. He's a guy that can hit it so clean and effortless. And you tell yourself, as a coach, you tell yourself, the other kids, don't do what Fabio just did. Whatever you do,
don't do that.
Don't do it. Don't do it like that. He's a drill killer. You know what I mean? Because can you imagine playing him in shooter? He would forehand off the second ball every time, down line winner. And right as you get into the good matchups, he said, Coach, I got 7. Coach, I got 10. Coach. You're like, Bobby, there's no way. Coach, I had 14 winners. I mean, what are you going to do? You want me to go and hit it back to him 18 times? And you're like, bless it, Bobby. You couldn't have made all 15. He made 16. He gets got let on one of them. You know what I mean?
Jesus.
That's
yeah.
what I'm needing. And it's just it's unreal.
He's been hitting a coach's forehand since age 10.
Oh, my God. Bigger.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yes, I mean, I think we both probably have Novak coming out of that the top half of that quarter. So moving into the bottom half here, where you got Draper through Alcaraz.
Yeah.
It's big scale. It's likely Carlos, right? It feels like it's Carlos. Yeah, I have no reason not to. I think there's some even in his small section. I don't really see there's anything that's going to bother him. It's the Draper. Even Draper, like Kokkinakis in the second round could be like, assuming Draper gets Bassmar and Avone.
Kokkinakis is a hometown hero.
Hometown guy, plays a lightning match. Like,
right? Yeah. Has had some great results in doubles. I don't know if I like any of them to get past Sebi Korda. I love Seb Korda. That's one of my favorites to get out of that top half of this lower section of the third quarter. I don't know, man. And on Alcaraz side, he'll probably dispatch Shevchenko pretty easily. Nishioka is always, it'll be a great match to tune him up a little bit. I just don't think he'll give him the right kind of ball. Saw Nishioka play Ben Shelton here at the Atlanta Open not long back. It was a good match. He took Ben down. Matter of fact, in that match, saw him the year before when he played Kei Nishikori, which was a good match. And Nishikori was lucky to win that match a few years ago. He's continuing to get better. Another lefty club over there. So I just see those kind of players coming through, but I see them being more great tune-up matches for Alcaraz.
Right, nothing to hurt him.
Nothing to really hurt him with what they can do. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, which he's not. When he's playing well, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He plays through the court more than you think. And I don't see them having, again, that B game to beat him. I don't see the conditions being unfavorable. He's in great shape. Say what you want about his squirrely matches here and there. I know he lost to Vandersloot in the second round was it the Open, but he did not. He's never out of shape. And with a coach like Juan Carlos Hill, he won't be out of shape. So it's not like he's going to go into that match, struggling. It just may be focus and maybe timing, but none of these guys have the kind of game to beat him. They got the more let him lose kind of game. And I say that to say, and this is for all the tennis fans out there. Sometimes they don't always understand this from a coaching perspective and from a, I get this really well. I didn't fully understand as much as a player. I was too much hot or cold. But the best players know how to either beat you or let you lose. When you do both, you got the full gun, right? You got the full option. A lot of players, like to, Draper's one of these. Obviously, Riley's one of these. You got your Ben Sheldon as the poster child for this. They have this, I have to win. I have to beat you syndrome. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you have the goods, you're a big player, big hitter. Hawkins, you mentioned, is one of those kind of, how do you say his name again? The Czech player?
Mahatch, yeah.
He crushes the ball. Rublev might be the dictionary picture of I will beat you. You know what I mean? And then you got the I will let you lose. And of course, you've got in that category, of course, you got Novak sitting right over there with the GOAT picture on this one here. If you do it right, you do both at the right time, right? You let them lose the what I call the in-between points, the 15 alls to 15-30. Give that little mini break. The 15-30 goes to 15-40. Now you play a big point at 15-40, step up on a second serve return or hit a big, and now you kind of close the guy and get your break. But you didn't have to beat them all 4 points. And what I kind of see, unfortunately, for the good chunk of this draw, all the way through, is that with the notable exception of my boy Thompson there, who loves a certain volley and gets in net and plays some all-court game, the most of these players are more let them lose. Alcaraz won't lose those matchups, right? Thompson gave Novak a bit of run at Wimbledon, I want to say a year or so ago, and kept coming in and gave and had his hands full, when he played against him. It's just I don't know if the hard court is as favorable as the grass would be. keeping the ball low, keeping the ball down low. He's, again, another good doubles player. I just see Alcaraz not really being tested per se in this part of the draw, and it looks like on paper, it looks like a Novak Carlos quarterfinal, and a great one at that.
Yeah, and even to echo your point about like as a player, when you get to a certain point, like it's almost like you realize who you are, right? And that even my own playing days, as I think probably my senior year at college, I got to the certain point where I felt good enough about myself as a player. Like, this is what I do well. I can retrieve a lot of balls, and when I added a little more offense to my game, it was like I was starting to lose to a certain profile of player, and that player was generally a lot bigger than me, who could hit a very big first serve and then like really push me around the court. Like, at that point, I was no longer losing to like what you'd call your pushers or your guys who were just willing to stand in the back of the court and bang balls all day, because I was then adding in that part to my own game. I was like, well, I'm coming in and I'm going to start pinching off points at the net. Not in any way to compare myself to Carlos Alcaraz, but he is also, you start looking at the players that he loses to in Grand Slams, or even the one-off losses that he takes in the other tournaments. He is starting to show that he will lose or struggle with players that are tall and can turn the match into this linear match, like make the court very long. And because he has a tendency he will back up.
100%.
He will back up and run around. And the guys who are willing to come forward and take that ball out of the air, like that's what happened against Bodek van der Stoep, right? In the U.S. Open. Same thing happened against Medvedev 2 years ago in the U.S. Open. Last year, Australian Open, it was Zverev, right? So like all these guys are 6'4", like 6'4", 6'5", like long, big serves. Okay, if you let me, I'll come in.
Sasha might just be 6'6", 6'7", bro. I mean,
right.
I stood next to the kid. He's I'm 6'6". He was as tall, if not a bit taller. I mean, I don't know what he's listed as, but he's all day 6'6".
And Jordan Thompson is like, I mean, Jordan is 6 foot, but he's not imposing the same kind of will those guys are off the first serve. So like, when you start to look at these guys, they're all just like, yeah, nothing really there. You get into the Draper of it. I don't think Draper's going to be able to hang with him on a hard court for 3 out of 5. So, yeah, I think we're all on the same page here. That like it's Carlos and Novak kind of on a collision course in this quarter, which is great for us as fans. We'll get that one early. Yeah, I got no beef with that. We'll keep this thing moving right along here. Top half of the bottom quarter, from Casper Ruud to Tommy Paul. This one's got some pizzazz to it. I don't think that's anything that's like tournament impacting, but like my boy Jerry Shang is hanging out here against Davidovich Fekina. That will be a fun match. Sign me up.
Match
I'm watching that. I'm watching that match from front to back. Winner taking on the winner of Jean-Louis Struff and Felix. Felix, I don't know, man. Here we are.
Auger Aliassime is perhaps one of the biggest enigmas of the current era. If Zverev has underachieved to win a slam, Felix to me has underachieved to get to semis and get to and fulfill the talent that everybody was so excited about to see him have. I personally feel that Felix is on his way down unless some major changes are done with his game. I know for a while he was working with Uncle Tony, Nadal's uncle, there for a little while. He's playing some pretty good tennis back then. A nice resurgency. That was a few years ago. I'm not sure what's going on with him now. You heard it right here. Struff is no joke. And Felix, if we talk about Stefanos having blood in the water the last year and a half, Felix is more blood in the water, and who knows? So this is going to be a tough matchup for him. I don't know. Casper has had some up and down results over the last year and a half. He's no longer getting where he was before, and some years. And Tommy had points dropped off last year, and now here we are this year. I mean, he's got. It's going to be some tough sledding for this part of the draw. I'll be honest, man. I'll be honest. Obviously, this is on paper. Casper Ruud should take this, but I don't know if this whole part of the draw is a bunch of question marks to me. Duckworth, again, another Australian who can hang right there. Is he Australian or is he New Zealand? He one or two.
I think he's Australian.
I thought
I
he was
believe
Australian.
he's Australian.
But
Yeah.
again, you got Nishikori, is still kind of hanging around. You got some older players that are around in this whole thing. I don't know who comes out of this whole thing. I really don't. Casper could be the favorite and he could go out first round, right? Felix could be the favorite and he can go out first round. I mean, each one of these guys is so up and down, and not by mercurial by their mentality, but just off their game styles and just up and down in general with how they play. I just feel like I look at this whole draw with the exception of Tommy Paul. Tommy's been the most consistent, I would say, in the last year or two. Each one of these other players looks to me like you just don't know.
Yeah.
From one term to the next. This is a draw where all of the, and again, I say this with complete respect for the level, where all of the 50 through 98, what actually makes the cut of the draw, was found themselves in. It's like the Australians went through the draw and said, let's just handpick and make sure each one of our guys won't play each other first round. And then it just so happens they moved some people. They got down to this one and they're like, who's in this one? Well, we still got Casper there. It looks good on paper. Okay, let it go. But deep down they knew. And then they looked above at Novak and Carlos, and now you got this draw here. You're like,
yeah,
probably should have redid this one.
I feel like I tussle with this section a lot when I was kind of like putting together what I'll call my projections, and I think Jakub Mensik. So he's like he's a player that's been like he's on the a lot of people are talking about him. Good player, like very good young player. I think Casper isn't traditionally sharp this time of year, so I feel like Jakub Mensik. I think he's going to beat Casper in the second round. And then I don't know what the hell happens between Jerry Shang and then all the way to Felix. Like I don't know what's going on in that third round match. I can't call it at all. And for that reason, I think Tommy Paul is going to come out in the fourth round of this one.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know. Tommy's as bankable as they get right now.
100%.
So I feel like I can. My money feels safe there. The rest of it, well, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to watch. Watch it burn down.
Fun to watch. I predict a bunch of 4 and 5 setters coming out of this section.
Yeah.
Most of the players all seem like they're fit enough, and not a lot of huge game. A lot of counter punchers. A lot of all court gamers. There's a lot of players in this draw that could go either way, and not a lot of great. From what I'm looking at, not a lot of great full package, I have it all type players in this section, which leads to a lot of good tennis, good holds, bad breaks, long sets lead to long matches, momentum swings. This is the cardiac arrest club right here. I mean, these guys all, if you're the coach or the parent or the agent, man, you're in this thing. You got your darn you're popping Alka-Seltzer after every one of these matches. You're like, whew. Just try to get these guys through what could be a very winnable 3 or 4 rounds for each one of these guys to get through. But as I say, for the coach or parent or relative going to these matches, man, have the Alka-Seltzer tablets in the assorted flavor variety. Have them on standby.
Yeah, and I think just to add one last thing here, like on Felix, like he's also on notice. Like he's on notice. If this is like you said, you feel like he's on the way down.
100%.
If he's not, he has to beat Jan-Lennard Struff. Like he has to. If he doesn't, oh man, we got problems. We got problems.
And he plays better on hard court. His serve's bigger, obviously. So to me, after this tournament and the way the whole thing shakes out, just how the tournament rolls, you've got some other hard court tournaments, but it really shifts to clay pretty quickly.
Oh yeah.
You got to look at this in that way. Again, he's a low seed. He just made seeding by a few spots. But let's be honest, his grass game has been up and down at best. His clay court game has been, in my opinion, non-existent. I know he's probably got a few results, and I'm sure you'll fact check me afterwards. But he just isn't a threat on the clay, to my knowledge. And so now if you let a hard court tournament go, and you're not going to come around again until August, September, that bode well for him if he doesn't. So and as I said, and now he's out of that top 30 in the world ranking where he gets the protection of seeds.
Right.
And now he comes up against one of those guys early. And now that might be first and second round in bounce territory, right? So that's the problem with this kind of thing is the tennis world is not kind. It is not for the timid. I mean, if you stub your toe, you don't come back the very next tournament, let alone next year, with some answers, the seeding alone will hurt you.
Yeah, he and Jerry Shane could be trading positions next year. And that's by U.S. Open. Like that could be the case because like Mensik and Shang are both like right outside somewhere in that 40 range, 50 range. Just like make a good strong run at the Australian Open, and you start coming into the clay court season where like okay, now I think you go indoor a little bit. Like maybe Europe goes towards like Rotterdam, and the Americans tend to come back and play Dallas. But then we're on. Like it's after that. It's you got the swing, the golden swing in South America. Some guys go to Dubai, and then But it's but from April 1 on, we're gonna be on clay.
Full on dirt.
Yeah. So we're gonna move down to the very last the bottom half of this quarter.
I don't know the Gigante, but as a qualifier, but I find his name funny against Humbert. Humbert's one of the biggest lefty slippers there is on the tour. And if Gigante doesn't know, he's about to find out. I mean, Don Hugo has just got an absolute rifle on the left-hand side. And I love watching him play. Have watched him for a while. You got your boy Phil's on down low on that coming out of that. Love to see the two Frenchmen tussle and what would be the third round. I know you got to mention Kyrgios and is it Fernley? I'm not too familiar with Fernley.
Jacob Fernley, yeah.
But Nick will, just the fact that Nick is playing arguably for himself and for the right reasons, and he's in his own backyard. I don't know of a player I would love to see play Zverev more than Nick Kyrgios. And I want to just skip all the way. Kui is a good player. That's going to be a tough matchup for Zverev, just like Fernley maybe for Nick, and just like Gilbert, and there's some unknowns there. But you heard it right here. I am looking forward to this third round if it stays true to form, and Phils plays Humbert, and Nick plays Alexander Zverev. Dude, the sun, the moon, and stars. I may call off work for a day ahead and a day after just to process what just happened, because that would be a phenomenal. And then that winner would go on to play, as you know, that would be the lower half of the Carlos Alcaraz Novak situation. So, dude, that lower half could be money.
So let's skip the BS and let's just get straight to it, right? So I don't know. I had this question written down. Who did this for Nick Kyrgios? And the answer is, well, he's Australian. I mean,
he's Australian, bro.
I'm not calling.
Every tournament does this, but the United States.
I'm not calling shade on Craig Tiley or anything.
I'm just make it happen. It's our tournament.
Okay. So if you look at Nick's mini section here, right? Okay, Sebastian Baez, he collects 95% of his points in the course of the year on the dirt, right?
Yep.
So a smaller guy hits a much bigger ball than you'd think for his size. But between him and Kazuk, Artur Kazuk, toss up. I think Nick is probably going to beat Jacob Fernley.
He's French, so it's probably Kazoo.
Yeah, the two Arthur. So Arthur Fils, Arthur Kazoo. And they're the same age too. That's kind of funny. But so let's say Kyrgios against, let's say, Sebastian Baez, right? Kyrgios, obviously he hasn't played in a while. He lost last week in the one he lost to GMP in one of the tune-up events, right?
Sure.
In 3 sets. I think it might have been 3 tiebreakers, but
notable, by the way.
Yeah, he looked fine. Like he looked fine. I think, and as much as Kyrgios is known for the things he does off the court and the things he says, right? he is still a generational talent, right? And if he's here, if he's here and he's doing it, and it looks like he's been training and he's playing and he's ready to go, he ain't losing to some little dude. Like, that's the thing. Like, he's got a top 10 in the world serve. Forehand is huge. Like, hands like carved from ivory. Like, when you talk about as a tennis player, he can play. Big boy can play. So
has been able to.
I think that's a nice little cushy start for him.
Yeah.
All things, assuming he's healthy, he's ready, which I think he is. That is a nightmare third round match for Alexander Zverev. Like, home slam, and Kyrgios is known to, he will get into the shit. Like, he'll just start stirring it up. And Alex has been known to get sucked into that kind of stuff.
Yep.
It's a nightmare. It is a nightmare.
Kyrgios disturbed Wawrinka at his prime. So you already know what he would do with the guy that hasn't won one yet. You know what I mean? And he's already proven he has no base. I mean, so he will get down and dirty and talk smack with the best of them. I just want to make one brief comment. Isn't it just convenient that each of these Australians happen to be in every 8 boxes? Conveniently spaced.
Just to spread them out. And somehow we got in one section you get four matches that
skip 8 spaces. Jordan Thompson skipped 6 paces. Oh, Kyrgios skipped 6. I mean, they literally went through I'm telling you, Alvin. I'm telling you. Other countries do this all the time, and the U.S. is so against it. Oh, we can't do that. Other countries are like, heck, we can't. It's our tournament. It's our slam. We are making it numerically possible for there to be an all-Australia quarterfinal, bro. And if they don't, it's on them. But we're not going to have this Australia plays Australia first, second round.
No, absolutely not.
does it sometimes in the quality. Our wild cards play each other.
Yeah.
American is going to come out of this draw. Bull crap. We just took our field of 30 down to 15 by day 2. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I've always hated that. And I remember one year being at the French, and every day they have this magazine they give out, the Le Quotidien. And all it is a summary of French players, a quick bio, pictures. They're like, bump everybody else,
right?
Bump everybody else. During those days, I'm trying to think in 03, 4, 5 in that range. What was Nadal? Nadal had a cover page, and you didn't see Nadal mentioned after that. It was like, oh, Nadal, what? Is he French? No, I don't know the guy. I mean, it was like, and I said to say, they loaded up the French guys. Loaded them up. I mean, Jeremy Chardy was the second coming of Christ during these top days. And I'm like, Jeremy Chardy, it's like, he's not even seen it. You did not know that. If you were French, Jeremy Chardy was the next. And buddy, don't sleep. He's there. And he's being coached by, we already know, our favorite, Guy Forget. And Guy Forget says, and I'm like, U.S., where are we at? Where is the Guy Forget over here training the Jeremy Chardy over here? You see what I'm saying? Let alone, anyway, I don't want to rant, but the
Guy Forget over here would be Brad Gilbert on television.
Well, but that's unfortunate where we are. And so I said to say, it's funny, it's convenient. What's my boy name there? Walton is up there in the draw there against Plant House, and dude, he would not be in Kyrgios' draw for love nor money because they would not make it. So I'm not saying they cooked the draw. What I'm saying is that they're protecting their players from having to play each other early. Now, if it was a qualifier section and Aussie got through, that's one thing. But because that the quality part is inserted in the draw party. But so that part they have no control over of where they go. But in Australia, they put them somewhere else. There's 8 wild card spots. There's 8 qualifier spots. So they would put them somewhere. Trust me. And it wouldn't be against the countrymen. I promise you.
I would love to invite Craig Tiley to come on the podcast and explain to us his perspective or the local perspective on draw making when it comes to the Australian Open. He might be busy. He's probably busy right now. I get it. tournament director of the Australian Open, or maybe his work is done and he's just chilling. So if anyone
we've got to get. I know Craig from his days at Illinois. Great coach, by the way.
Any of our alumni, Illinois alumni friends.
I may have to find out. Maybe I might have to reach out to Raj and see if he's got Craig's number still, and see if we can get in touch with my main man. Who was some other good players?
My boy Brandon Davis.
I'm talking about Riley DeHart. Who else played with Illinois back in the day?
Stolt.
But Stolt was on
Amir Delic. Amir Delic.
Reach out to Amir and find out.
Brian Wilson.
Deli would tell me where he was at, and Deli probably still hangs out with him over there. Oh, talk about a great player back in the day, Amir Delic. Oh,
talk about a great team. So this is since we're done with this, a little segue. Like, one great team, right? So that final between University of Illinois and Vanderbilt was probably 2004, I want to say, maybe 2003. I can't remember which year it was.
Maybe 03.
Yeah. Because that was after my junior year of college. So what does it matter? I went to that match, and you're looking up and down, and you've got like somebody like Rajiv Ram playing 3, like what? That's tough. That's tough.
3 and 4. Not
3 and 4.
He may have been the stack to play 3. So
you had Brian Wilson ahead. Was it Brian Wilson ahead of him, and then Amir playing 1.
Right.
Stolt was like 3, 4, 5 somewhere. Riley DeHart was on the bench that year.
Down at 4, and Stolt may have been playing one or two doubles. I mean, had a massive serve. Quick side note on a future guest, Bobby Reynolds. Bobby Reynolds lost to Philip Stolt, I want to say pretty bad, at the U.S. Open Junior, last year of juniors. Stolt goes on to Illinois. Bobby goes on to Vandy. Bobby goes on to play 1 for Vandy. Bad team, not that great of a team, and got his teeth kicked in the first year, but really kind of got his legs under him, and then figured out what he was doing. Second year, about 500. But again, SEC ball, so he's not playing against mediocre competition. Third year, he's playing 1 and faces Amir Delic in the final of NCAAs. And the guy that's beaten him before is playing 4-5 for the opponent. Can you imagine just the how you like me now kind of a situation in that matchup? And you got a guy like Rajiv Ram who won Kalamazoo in the 16s. I don't think Raj dropped a set on the way to Kalamazoo. Played a year in college, and then bounced to the pros. And we all knew how good of a doubles player Raj was. And you heard already, our nickname for Raj was Ramfus because he was, he played so much like
that serve is almost a carbon copy.
Oh my God, carbon copy. And anyway, to my point, I look at him now, so proud of Rajiv, just a great guy. Excellent work ethic. Stayed out there a long time. I think got a medal with Venus. I want to say. I think he got he's got a couple of slams now with Dubs.
Yep.
I mean, just how, to your point, look at the quality of that team back in those days, bro. I mean, that's just and again, hats off to Craig Tiley for putting a team like that together and to get all those guys together in that situation. I want to say Delic lost in 5 sets to Federer a year or 2 after that. In the first round of U.S. Open, he had some highlight reel match. If it wasn't Fed, it was somebody big time, like Moya, or it was somebody big in 03-04 that he lost to in 5 sets. I want to say a couple of breakers at like 7-5 in the 5th. It was an absolute 4 or 5 hour knockdown drag out. One of those matches that could go either way. And had he gone through, man, I thought Delic was top 50 all day. Good on all surfaces, big game, nice play. I mean, just huge serve, nice forehand, good hands. I mean, just he was a lot like a one-handed Burdick. He came forward well. He had good strokes off both sides. Smooth for a big guy. Oh, he was smooth.
And I mean, one of the nicest guys you could ever meet too. We were in Austin at the same time and crossed paths during my time at Flow Sports, and we did a little bit of commentary work together as well. He's a great guy. I know he does work with Andy Roddick's foundation still in Austin. Yeah. So hopefully reach out to Amir and have him come on and trade some stories. I did, like, one of the best college tennis matches I've ever seen in my life was that final between Illinois and Vanderbilt.
Yep.
And when we do get a chance to have Bobby on, or maybe even
Yeah.
Amir as well, I'd love to hear that. I'd love to hear that match retold from their perspective.
1000%.
One of the I'm going to leave the viewers with the teaser there, but the end of that match was one of the things that you only see once in your life. And I remember being next to Bobby. He was like where I was sitting in the stands. He was kind of next to me to come watch the very final match to win the national championship after he already played Amir. And the way that match ended was like, yeah, I wish someone could have interviewed him right there on the spot, because it was a very, very raw moment for an athlete.
Right.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that story from Bobby's vantage point and Amir's vantage point.
Right.
On that 2003 national championship match. But I think it's a good place for us to sign off, because this is a full size run for men's and women's Australian Open preview. It is not quite yet January 11th, so that means the tournament gets started tomorrow, which is exciting. I can't wait. It's going to be cold here. It's going to be dark here, but it's going to be hot and bright on the screen. Torrey, thank you again for joining me. We're crushing this.
Looking forward to it, man. I'm good.
Yeah,
I just put in the text to B-Ray right now. I'm gonna see if we can't schedule him. We've talked him into existence, so I'm gonna reach out to him right now and see if the universe will respond.
Okay, and I'll do the same thing. I'll shoot Amir a text and see if I can wrangle him away from his busy schedule to talk a little tennis with us at some point here. But my friend, this was fun. We'll come back. Let's call it once the quarterfinals are set. We'll take a look at week 2 and see what we were right about, what we were wrong about, and what we're excited about as the tournament gets towards winning time.
Look forward to it.
That's it.
And finally, if you happen to see this, no disrespect, bro. We appreciate what you're doing. We miss you. American tennis misses you.
American tennis misses you.
American tennis, college tennis. And if you have any inkling of coming back over to the U.S. to take over the USTA after our departure of Jose, I would personally call the Haley myself, and with what little pull I have, and try to get you the absolute red carpet treatment to come over here, because talking about a country with not too many people have had unbelievable, I'm going to say, representation, from Australia over the last 10, 15 years, buddy. And what he's done with the Slam, the U.S. would be indebted to Craig Tiley for a long time if he could do the similar treatment over here. So that's just out of respect, but long story short, Alvin, always a pleasure. Look forward to the next episode.
There we go. Bada bing, bada boom. We are out.
Peace.